Good afternoon, happy Friday. I'm Adam Southam. I'm here today with my esteemed colleagues for a fireside chat on the subject of food and nutrition in the mitigation of disease and hunger worldwide. The United Nations World Food Day is aimed at achieving the sustainable goal of zero hunger by 2030. But defeating hunger is not just about eating any food, it's about eating the right foods. Health and wellness in the body and mind are also a function of the right foods. Proper nutrition and functional foods are weapons in the treatments against disease and the pursuit of true wellness. Before we begin, I would like to extend my personal thanks to my friend Muffy McMillan, Chair, and Mark Ritchie, President of Global Minnesota. They are the champions of this programming for the United Nations. What they have done continues to be an imperative cause, and they are committed, as are we, for the next 10 years to end world hunger. So a little bit about our speakers today. We've got three phenomenal speakers and me. So we've got Mike Dovbish, who is co-founder and executive director of Nutrition Capital Network. NCN provides strategic guidance and preparing participating company for investor conferences. The NCN's inception in 2007, Mike has worked with presenting companies on their business plans, pitch presentations, and overall strategy to best position them for growth and investment. He also identifies and introduces potential investors and strategic partners to company before, during, and after investor meetings. He has worked with entrepreneurs on their business strategy, capital raising, market opportunity assessment, value proposition, and partner development. And I'm going to have Mike talk a little bit more about himself in a few minutes. I'm going to introduce our next esteemed panelist, speaker, Dr. Arti Prasad, Chief and F. Scott Davies Endowed Chair of the Hennepin of Medicine at the Hennepin Healthcare facility in Minneapolis. She practices integrative medicine at the oncology clinic at Hennepin Healthcare Cancer Center. Dr. Prasad is professor of internal medicine at the University of Minnesota, and she continually has demonstrated excellent leadership skills when she was at the University of New Mexico. In part, resulted for her being nominated and accepted for the prestigious Hedwig van Ameringen, got that one, Executive Leadership in Academic Medicine. This is a program for women. She graduated from this program in 2005, and under her leadership, UNM, I'll get it all right, HSC, is now a member of the National Consortium for Academic Health Centers for Integrative Medicine. Try saying that again. All right, so Dr. Prasad grew up in India and has lifetime of experience with natural, Ayurvedic, and integrative medicine. She practices these things with compassion based upon holistic and integrative medicine at Hennepin Healthcare. In March 2010, she was awarded a grant from the Wheel Foundation to create the nation's first medicine track for the internal medicine residency program at University of New Mexico. Now, I was about to say, fortunately or unfortunately rather, Artie has an emergency and can't be joining us, and I was going to tell you a little story about her, but fortunately she's here, so I'm going to skip that.
No, you can still tell the story. I love stories.
I'm telling the story. Your stories from you is much better. So Dr. Dexter Shurney, MD, is president of the American College of Lifestyle Medicine. He is also Chief Medical Officer and Senior Vice President of Clinical Affairs for Zimpango, a San Francisco-based digital health and wellness company that focuses on enabling healthy eating. Healthy eating made simple is their byline. He is the former Chief Medical Director, Executive Director for Global Health Benefits and Corporate Wellness for Cummins. Prior to Cummings, he was CMO, Chief Medical Officer of the Employee Health Plan for Vanderbilt University and Medical Center, and held joint faculty appointments as Assistant Clinical Professor, Division of Internal Medicine and Public Health, and adjunct faculty. How does anyone even do this all in a lifetime? Owens Graduate School of Management. So other than that, Dr. Shurney has held senior health policy strategy positions in the Division of Government Affairs for the biotechnology company Amgen and CMO for Blue Cross Blue Shield of Minnesota. Now you can imagine that these are the short bios, but we don't have an hour for the whole bio. So one final note on Dr. Shurney is he's co-author of the book, which is a fantastic book. I've read it a couple of times. Integrating Wellness into Your Disease Management Programs. I am Adam Southam, founder and chairman of MyFormulary, where 10 years ago I invented our patented efficacy engine. It is an algorithm that determines the effectiveness of ingredients in the treatment or prevention of disease based entirely, I can see this, entirely upon peer-reviewed, unbiased, published clinical results. MyFormulary is a healthy food medtech company and has solved the problem of what one should eat, what one individual should eat for their individual health and longevity. My life's accomplishment, my raison d'etre is MyFormulary. I'm a lifetime entrepreneur, opening my first company at 12, winning a lot of battles, losing a lot of battles, but this is the most important battle I've ever been in. So rounding things out now, I'm going to go back to the speakers and ask them to tell a little bit more about themselves, their passion, their organizations, and their organizations and their passion for advancing human wellness. And I'm going to start with Artie.
Great. Thank you, Adam. Thank you for the introduction.
All right, Dexter, you there?
Can you hear me? No?
I can hear you.
Okay, good. Okay, great. Adam, can you hear me?
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Oh, great. Okay, sorry. I'm sorry. I just thought that you were saying that you couldn't hear me. Hi, good evening, everyone. It's a pleasure to be here. I am the Department Chair of Internal Medicine at Hennepin Healthcare. And as Adam said, that I actually came from University of New Mexico. My passion is in the prevention and well-being of humans. Prevention of diseases and well-being. And I practice in the oncology clinic because I feel like that's my calling to help cancer patients achieve wellness, work on prevention strategies, help them during their treatment, and then work on tertiary prevention to prevent other types of secondary cancers. So this is the work I do. In my day job, I'm an administrator of Department of Medicine. I moved here about 3 years ago. I was recruited for this job, and it is an honor to work for Hennepin Healthcare. As you know, Hennepin Healthcare is the Minnesota's level 1 trauma center. It is the county hospital of Minnesota, which has a huge mission to provide care to the most underserved, most vulnerable populations and most diverse populations. So we deal with many social determinants of health every single day. Our providers are very mission driven, and there's a lot of great work happening at Hennepin Healthcare. For today's talk and reference, I do want to point out what we are doing in some of these areas, which is related to nutrition and well-being. So as Adam mentioned, and I mentioned my passion about integrative health, Integrative Health, we combine the best of Eastern and Western approaches, and nutrition is a big part of that. We have integrative medicine providers, doctors at Hennepin Healthcare in our outpatient clinics in the main hospital, as well as we have functional medicine providers in one of our outreach clinics, which is the Whittier Clinic. We provide lifestyle consultations there, as well as we offer lots of group medical visits for many of these chronic diseases, as well as nutrition and culinary medicine. We are also, our department chair of pediatrics, Dr. Diana Cutts, is involved in some great initiatives for for children's growth and nutrition, which is a multidisciplinary clinic that evaluates and treats children with nutrition problems. She also is a recognized researcher in the area of food insecurity. We have a program called Immediate Food Support Program, and that provides shelf-stable foods to patients who identify as food insecure. We also identify high-risk individuals with pressing food needs and partner with community agencies to provide increased and more consistent access to healthy food. We maximize long-term sustainable food security via government food programs. And we have a new initiative that's coming as part of the development of the Red Leaf Center for Family Healing, which is going to have a teaching kitchen. So we are working with the concept of kitchen table, where community will come together, the participants will come together, they will have access to food, as well as we will offer nutrition and cooking classes, and build a community. You know, our life happens around food, and community building and those connections are very important to Hennepin. Thank you.
All right, Dexter, you're next.
Okay, can you hear me now?
Yes. Oh, and you're
All
in
right.
the forest. Artie's in New Mexico. You're in the forest. This is great.
Yeah, I'm in Oregon, and that's actually my backyard.
Oh, is it?
That's my backyard. So when I saw Ari, I thought I'd pull mine up too. So anyway.
Oh, great.
Dexter, Dexter, this was my backyard in New Mexico.
Oh, wow.
There you go. See?
I've got my backyard behind me. It's a poster.
It was back and front yard. Thank you.
There you go. See? Yeah. Well, anyway, thanks for having me. Sorry about some of the technical issues we had, but we got through it. I'm Dexter Shurney. I'm the Chief Medical Officer for Zapongo Food Smart, and really just wanted to share two real life experiences in terms of food as medicine. I'm also the president for the American College of Lifestyle Medicine, and you know the 6 pillars of lifestyle medicine. Food is probably the one that's least understood in terms of what represents a healthy diet and a sustainable diet. And then my real world experiences with this, one is actually at Food Smart, where we do a telenutrition application, working with registered dietitians, guiding patients through what they should be eating based on their nutritional status, and also any disease states that they may have. We also have a food secure program that's built right into that. So we're able to help them access food. We're able to use electronic benefits transfers as well as SNAP. We're also able to help them do comparison shopping within their own region so that they can look at all of what a basket of food might cost at one store versus another. So we're able to do that. And then direct them there, and then again, get them the food that is most essential for them, and also based on not only their medical needs, but also their preferences. We can do this either through ingredients, or we can also do this through prepared meals or meal kits, depending on what the patient really wants to do. So that's what I do currently. Prior to that, I was the executive director for global benefits for Cummins Diesel out of Indiana. And I think I have a little bit of what's going on with your mouth there, Adam. But anyway, so one of the things I did when I was at Cummins is that we built a lifestyle medicine clinic, 28,000 square feet, 60 providers. We had the teaching kitchen. We had health coaches and physicians that were board certified in lifestyle medicine, so that they really understood the whole idea of food as medicine. And again, great results. We were able to get many of our patients completely off of their medications. We were able to put type 2 diabetes in remission, which means they were off of all of their medications and their hemoglobin A1C was normal. So I'll stop with that. Happy to talk about any of that as we go forward, but thanks for having me. Thank
you. Mike, you're next.
Oh, hi everybody, and thanks again, Adam, for having me. So as Adam mentioned, I'm executive director and co-founder of Nutrition Capital Network. So we hold investor and partnering conferences for health and wellness companies. So we saw a little bit of a gap in the market back in 2007, where there were a lot of emerging companies, but there was not a place for them to meet investors. There's these shows called Natural Products Expo West and East. Those still are thriving, except for in 2020. So yeah, so they'll be back. They'll be back. We hope in 2021 at some point. So, but at that time, it was very hard for these companies to meet investors. So we thought, let's build a platform for them. And at that time, that platform, well, really the platform up until this year was, for the most part, in-person events. So different types of investors would come to listen, anything from angel investors, foundations, private equity, a lot of corporate strategics. And the type of companies that we would have would be, could be anything from a natural organic food brand to a supplement company to a new type of ingredient technology. And so we started with one event, built that up to about 5 events. And we also added in some data on transactions, and also tracking our own past presenters. And so it became a little bit of a recurring business model where a lot of our members, investor members, are pay per year to access data, come to the events, see a lot of companies, and the data is there to help them make decisions on different types of companies to invest in. So that continues to go strong. We're doing that virtually these days. I became interested in this area, 2004 or 5, and there were not a lot of investors then. Even when we started, there was not a lot. Now there's a lot, particularly those interested in plant-based. And also at that time, I never really thought about, well, it's not like I never thought about, but for companies that we were working with to present, the idea of accessibility for products, it wasn't initially something I had thought of until a little bit more into what we were doing and realizing how important that was. So while it's nice for a company to make really high-end premium products, how you're really going to move the needle with health, wellness, and nutrition is to be able to bring down those price points. So I wouldn't say it's a criteria that the companies that we invite to present have those types of SKUs in their business, but I do, getting a little bit of an echo, but it is important generally when we're evaluating companies that how is this going to go to mass? How are everyday consumers able to buy this? Are there opportunities can the brand in the future maybe able to create products that can be sold in the mass channel? And that I think has become fairly important, not only to us, but to the investors out there. And I think that's important for society. So accessibility in terms of price, in terms of what a consumer can pay. So what's neat is that, or what I've really liked seeing is, take plant-based, for example. Plant-based has been around for a long time, but the new emergence of plant-based products in the last, let's say, 5 years, when they first started, like the Impossible Foods, the Beyond Meat, they were pretty costly. So those prices are coming down. The cell-based meat companies that they're making meat hamburgers using cell-based using a cell-based technology, even those they're working on getting the price down. So I think there's a lot of really good things happening there. And it's really, it's exciting to be sort of in the nexus of all that. Aside from Nutrition Capital Network, I'm also on the board of Naturally Bay Area. Naturally Bay Area was the first affiliate of Naturally Network. At Naturally Network, there are now different hubs. There's Naturally Bay Area, Boulder, which was the original one, San Diego, LA, New York, Chicago, Austin, and I think there's a couple more coming online. And it's a nonprofit, and we're really here to hold education events and training and community events for really targeting sort of very early stage brands, health and wellness brands that are trying to grow their business. So we try to help them with materials and tools and speakers to help them grow their business. So I've been pretty active with that, and I think that sort of wraps up my background.
Thank you. Well, and I'm just going to say a little bit about all three of you. So, you know, Dexter joining the American College of Lifestyle Medicine absolutely was a game changer for me. Artie, being getting to know you and getting involved with Hennepin Health and understanding exactly what a difference you can make by modeling this hospital system for replication around the country, where, you know, what Artie didn't mention is the word safety net. So Hennepin Health is safety net, which means that you can go there and not pay. So you've got everybody, and it's downtown Minneapolis, and you may have heard of those little riot things that we have here, which is why Artie having the emergency is no surprise. And thank you for being here. But bringing integrative medicine and food, and I mean, she has chefs who actually cook phenomenal food. I mean, this is a very big deal in a hospital environment. And Mike, you know, you're pretty humble, because without you, companies like Lara Bar would never have made it into the world of General Mills. Now, so who cares as a shareholder? That's a lovely thing. But Lara Bar is a really great product, and it's a healthy product, and it's better that people eat that than a Snickers bar. So the impact of how many hundreds of companies you've given the opportunity to get out of a local market and into Whole Foods or into General Mills, et cetera. You know, this is a very big deal. So I'm not going to babble on about myself. I get to do that throughout the conversation. So I'm going to throw out our first topic.
You should have primed us to babble about too.
Yeah. Well, maybe if we have time at the end, you can all babble about me. Otherwise, we can do it offline too. But let's talk about the power of food as medicine. And Artie, why don't you begin the discussion?
Sure. Thank you. So, you know, I should start with a disclaimer here for everyone that I'm not an expert in nutritional science. And actually, you will be very surprised to know that doctors get very little education on nutrition. There is actually publication out there that I have with some of my esteemed colleagues in integrative medicine that looked at the curriculum of several medical schools and also the curriculum of graduate medical education, including cardiology fellowships. And there is not anything about food and nutrition in those curriculum, but the residency guidelines say that the doctors, the residents are supposed, and the fellows are supposed to teach their patients about nutrition and lifestyle. So how do you do that? What an oxymoron, right? That ask your doctor, but doctors have no knowledge of this. So it's a big void in our community regarding, you know, food as medicine, or having power of food being part of every patient interaction that, you know, we have. And you have also heard that an apple a day keeps the doctor away. And I come from India, and in my native language, Hindi, there is a similar phrase which means, it's called Ek Anar Sau Bimar, which means one pomegranate and 100 sick people wanting to have it. So it says something about the power of food. Also, there is a phrase that I've often used in my presentations, and I'm sure most of us have heard this from Thomas Edison, that the doctor of the future will give no medication, but will interest his, and my addition is his or her patients in the care of the human frame, diet, and in the cause and prevention of disease. So I think that says a lot about the power of food as medicine, isn't it? And Adam, if I could share my screen real quick with the audience, can I just do that very quickly? Will I?
You can do it. You go for it. I have no clue.
Okay, all right. I just want to show our audience what the Americans are actually eating. So I'm going to see if I could share my screen now very quickly here. Okay. Can you guys see it?
Yes.
Okay.
Wow.
All right.
My whole screen. Thank you.
Yep. So I'm sure Mike and Dexter has seen this and know this, but this is what we are eating, the Americans. The orange bars show the intake below recommendations. The recommendations in the middle, that's the line. And then what we are eating above the recommended values. So in other words, you can see vegetables, which are 87% below the goal, right here, vegetables. Fruits are below the goal, total grains are below the goal. Dairy is below the goal, and I think we can have a good discussion about dairy, whether that is below the goal or that's okay. Protein foods, less than goal. Oils, also this one says that we are below the goal. Now we can talk about the quality of oils and fat and what we need to have. But you can see the sugar, saturated fats, and sodium is pretty high in an American diet. So I probably just want to stop here and have a discussion with our panelists about the power of food. And I'm just going to do one more thing very quickly if I'm able to do that, which is this. Okay. And I don't know how to do that.
I think you're in charge of the technology department, though, Artie. This is good.
Okay.
I need.
So I would. You are sharing your screen. Okay, I do that. Stop share. Okay. Yeah. And then give me 1 second, and I want to share just one more screen, if that's okay. Is this? Okay. So what we just showed on the screen, what Americans are eating, and then this is from American Cancer Society, and it just puts those calories and sugars and fats and carbs into food products. So grain-based desserts, breads, yeast breads, chicken mixed dishes, soda, energy drinks, sports drinks, pizza, alcoholic beverages, pasta and pasta dishes, tortillas, burritos, tacos, beef and beef mixed dishes, and dairy desserts, potatoes, corn, other chips, burgers, regular cheese, cereals, ready cereals, and so forth. So I'll stop sharing my screen now, and maybe I'll invite Dexter to comment on this section.
Absolutely, thank you. Yeah, it's interesting your point about how we were trained as physicians in terms of nutrition, and we really weren't. I think it's something like 3 hours during our whole training. And what's interesting is that it's not trained on this kind of thing. It's about scurvy and beriberi and rickets and those deficiencies. It's not the same kind of training. And in fact, that's one of the reasons that the American College of Lifestyle Medicine came into existence, was because we knew the power of lifestyle and food in particular, but there was really nothing that existed to help physicians actually get up to speed on some of this to provide this to their patients. And now, as you know, for several years now, we've had the American Board of Lifestyle Medicine, and you can actually get your boards in lifestyle medicine. And you better believe that nutrition is a big piece of that board certification. But I'm going to just relay a few things that just kind of make common sense. And so, and because I find that resonates with people, and after they hear some of this, maybe they can actually take it away for them. So the first thing is that we've known about food as medicine for a long time. It's one of the things that Hippocrates talked about: let food be thy medicine. So we know this, so we've known this for a long time, and Ari, as you said, it's part of the guidelines. We're told to do this with our patients, but we haven't really had that kind of training. The other thing is that I think even our patients understand this. So it's not like you have to have a lot of training to understand the basics. If your children were to ask you, your 3-year-old to say, I want to eat cake and ice cream all day long, 3 times a day, most parents would not allow their children to do that. And we all understand that if your child eats cake and ice cream all day, that's not healthy, right? That will make you sick. And so we all sort of understand that at that kind of level as well. The other thing I'll say is that sometimes we just think about calories in and calories out. and we don't think about what's within those calories. And so if we think about where are the nutrients, and this gets back to Mike's issue or Mike's comment about a whole food plant-based diet. If you look at where are the nutrients in the diet, where are the vitamins, where are the minerals, where are the antioxidants, and if you look, most of this are in plants. 64 times more antioxidants are found in plants than in other foods. Where's the fiber found? We know now with the gut microbiome that we need fiber. Well, that's found in fruits and vegetables and whole grains. Where is the saturated fats found? That's found in, not in plants unless we fry them. Where's cholesterol in the diet found? So if you look at all of these things, and where's the sodium found? It's found in processed foods. So if you look at a whole food plant-based diet, you can understand why organizations such as ours and yours really start to encourage more plant-based eating, because that's where we get our health. That's not to say that we never can have any of these other things, but we really need to be mindful about that. The other thing is around added sugars, which we know is, again, that's with processed foods, right? Added sugars. And now in this day of COVID, we understand that sugar can actually wreak havoc on our immune system. It's probably the number one thing that we can do to hurt ourselves in terms of making our immune system dysfunctional is added sugar. It really hurts our white blood cells in terms of their ability to function. And yet, we're eating all of this junk food, all of these added sugars. So I just wanted to leave with some of those kinds of very practical thoughts on what we need to do when we start thinking about this and when we start having these kind of conversations. And then the last thing I'll say is I used to work for a diesel engine manufacturer, as I mentioned. And if you think about what a manufacturer of an engine, they have specific requirements for the fuel that you put in that engine. A diesel engine requires diesel fuel, and it doesn't take gasoline, and it certainly doesn't take water. When it comes to our bodies, oftentimes we just think about calories, and we want to have a full stomach, but we don't think about, is it water we're putting into our stomach, or like for the engine, or is it really something that's going to help the human engine run most effectively? So I'll leave it with that, but that was a great lead-in. Thank you for turning it over to me at that time.
Hey, Dexter, this is really wonderful. American College of Lifestyle Medicine is doing, great work. And I was very pleased to see just in the last 2 weeks that, this is how integrative medicine was also started, and it incorporates all of these components. But I was very pleased to see now that the fellowship program at University of Arizona has a crossover with lifestyle medicine that, you can take some extra courses and be able to sit for the board. And I'm on the board of founding board member for the American Board of Integrative Medicine. So I was very pleased to see that we are kind of marrying the two disciplines. They should have been together to begin with. So it's a very nice compliment. Thank you for all your work.
Well, thank you for yours too.
Yes. Yeah, very good. Adam, just technical question. We are getting a bunch of comments in the chat box. So what, is someone monitoring it, or you are going to look at it later in Q&A? Okay, just wanted to make sure, because I tried to respond to some and maybe I should stop.
He's on mute. You're on mute, Adam. There you go.
Prefer me that way, Mike. So yes, if the audience, please feel free to ask questions. At the end of the session, we will get to them. And the session is, technically supposed to end in about 23 minutes. So I'm going to speed things up a little bit, but we'll go as long as we can stay. I want to just add two quick things. One is yes, the fact of the matter remains is that family doctors in particular, and all physicians as a whole, have no requirement for nutrition, dietary, or other training in their degrees. The feds are trying to change this, but they're trying to add 2 hours, and really 2 course hours is nothing. And to Dexter's point, it's going on some really critical issues that aren't about what you eat every day. Now,
Adam?
There is a Japanese saying, by the way, called Hera Hachi Ban Mi. And that means eating only till you're 75% full. So this is another thing that we'll talk about. So Mike, do you want to add anything on this topic?
Yeah, I'll make it brief. You know, I think what Dexter was talking about with what we're experiencing with COVID, there's a lot we could have been doing, and I think as a society, this is not to say that it would have eradicated all the illnesses or deaths that have happened, but we probably could have had quite a bit less if we had embraced, if we more embrace a more healthier eating lifestyle, and we as a nation. And like I on the flip side of wanting companies to bring down price points to be available for the masses, we also have I think is a responsibility to try to also reframe the discussion around we are going to be spending more for food, because good food and good food products that are nutritious are just going to cost more. It's like in Japan, I think how much the percent of GDP they spend on food, much higher than what we do here. And they are much higher, they're healthier, much healthier than we are. So, you know, that needs to be reframed, and we need to figure out how to change diets for those that still can't afford these products, and figure out how to, I don't know, you know, what kind of programs we could have in some of these communities to help offset the costs of these things, because I think we need to be more preventative.
So Mike, you know, from a commercial standpoint, I absolutely agree with you. Now, I'm going to quote Dr. David Eisenberg, who is the chair of Healthy Kitchens, Healthy Lives, and I recommend everyone go to healthykitchens.org. This is the joint venture of the Harvard School of Public Health and the Culinary Institute. So this organization over the last 15 years has rounded up about 5,000 doctors and trained them on how to cook, and chefs on how to cook good things, and doctors how to cook it all. But the interesting thing is they've got hundreds of menu items where a family of 4 can create a complete meal for under 20 bucks. And so, you know, with all of our science and all of our everything, there are ways to do this. Now, you know, it's not Chateaubriand. But there are things out there that are nutritious, delicious, sustainable, local, efficacious, etc. So there are solutions out there, and I think that the big deal is as lofty as Harvard is, getting this message out. I think for all of us, getting this message out is very difficult.
Adam, can I just add to that, to Healthy Lives, Healthy Kitchen? So Tulane has the Gold Ring Center for Culinary Medicine. And it's located right in the Whole Foods complex, where they are teaching the medical students and residents how to cook for patients, cook for patients with chronic diseases such as diabetes, hypertension, heart disease. And they're also having patients coming in, and they're doing community cooking. And they have a beautiful curriculum, also have a conference, and also food as medicine, and preparing a meal for family with a very low cost, locally available food. So great initiative.
Yeah, there's, you know, prepared food, processed food, and you know, processed is not a bad thing. Prepared, combined, obviously are better. But you know, there are solutions out there, and people like both organizations are working on these. I'm going to move the discussion around to the impact of functional food on public health. And I'm going to talk about this for 1 second and hand it over. So, I mean, I could spend hours summarizing the financial findings of CFOs, economists, health insurance actuaries on the impact of disease upon the American and world economy. The data is terrifying because it's not sustainable. We will go bankrupt as a country and as a planet. Rome, as we know it, our Rome will end. In America alone, $3.1 trillion is spent on treating chronic disease. Well, okay, so yeah, that's a big number. But here's the critical piece. 80% of that chronic disease is caused by bad food. I'd like to say that 10 times over, but we don't have time. 80% caused by food. The good news is that that means that 80% can be prevented or treated with the right food. So let's take that $2.4 trillion and eat better food and improve life, and we're going to have a lot left over to share it with the world. So again, the mission of World Food Day is that nobody's hungry by 2030. We believe that a big piece of that is the right food along the way. So who wants to jump in on this one?
Well, one of the things I'll say is that you're absolutely right. And some of the programs that I've had the privilege of running, because if you go to a whole food plant-based diet, it's actually an anti-inflammatory diet. And as you know, some of the most costly medications are specialty pharmacy drugs for inflammatory conditions. I won't name what those drugs are, but you know they're very costly. Some of these specialty drugs run anywhere from $20,000 to $40,000 a year per person. And you can buy a lot of food for $20,000 and $40,000. And so it's kind of like, who's paying for this? And if you think about food as medicine, or food is medicine, then right now our healthcare system is paying for this, to your point. But maybe they should design benefits where they can actually pay for some of this for their patients. It would actually be what I would consider the best form of value-based care that you could imagine. To your point, now you have prevented these diseases that are 80% are preventable. But the thing is, Adam, when you give a drug, it's for a single condition usually. When you give food, you treat a bunch of different conditions. You're treating diabetes, obesity, depression, you're treating everything, and heart disease. And so when you think about that combined value, it's just astronomical. And unfortunately, we haven't as a society really figured all this out, but we have to, and we should, to your point.
Yeah, it's amazing. I will tell you, in the war we're fighting, it is a war. The insurance companies many of them are on our side because they want to reduce their costs. And they don't make money when we're sick. They make money when we're not sick. And so I've met with United Healthcare, with Blue Cross, with Bright Health, and Medica, and the CEOs all want to solve this problem. Now, we got to get it past the actuaries. Sorry, guys, I'm throwing them on the bus, but it's got a financial sense. But the financial sense doesn't necessarily, and I could go on about this one forever, have to be lowered premiums or lowered cost. It could be improved health outcomes, et cetera. So we could have an hour topic just on that one. But yeah, anyone else?
I just want to add what I remember maybe, 10 years or so ago here in California, Kaiser started working with farmers markets. So they would they'd have farmers markets, I think, on the Kaiser, parking lots. I don't know how wide that went. I don't know if it still exists right now, but I guess it probably does. And if it doesn't, they're probably thinking of other things. So I think that those are some really great ideas, really easy to do things as well, right? It's bringing a farmer's market in, and it's simple. And they're advertised, I've noticed, and it was around the same time. I think they hired, I don't know what they did. They I think more than just marketing, but it was like a whole new campaign, and I think a whole new strategy for them. Their ads were much more about healthy living and eating well and exercising. And that, and it was around that time where, Kaiser, it would sort of had this sort of reputation here in California. It was like, but now it's really sort of around that time, it really built up, did a good job of sort of changing their, how they were perceived. And, I think I really, I made a note of that. I'm not in Kaiser, but it is now, when I think about them, I think of what they're doing and what they're trying to become. And I think it's a lesson for other providers.
No,
Hey,
same,
Mike.
same thing.
Oh,
Health group.
Dexter?
UHG, I'll hand it over to Dexter in a second. United Health Group threw away all of their junk food equipment, anything out of all of their kitchens in the entire world. I think it's about 6 months ago. One day people came in and there were no fryers and there was nothing to make junk food, and no junk food in kiosks, etc. So putting their money where their mouth is. Sorry, Dexter, didn't mean to interrupt.
Oh, no, that's absolutely right. And Geisinger's done the same thing with their fresh food pharmacy with an F. But going back to Kaiser Permanente in 2013, in their journal for their physicians, the Permanente Physician Group had an article on a whole food plant-based diet, and they came out and they were very bold. They said, if physicians are not having these conversations with their patients, it's negligence. Because the power of diet is so, it's not really informed consent. If we get a patient and we say, we're going to give you this medication or we're going to do this procedure, but we don't say we can give you food as medicine, it's so powerful that it's really not informed consent, because you haven't given the patient all the choices that could actually benefit their health. And so it was very bold on their part, Mike. I don't know what they're continuing to do, but you're right. At one time, they were very outspoken about this.
May I just add to what Adam was saying? Actually, I have more of a question. So Adam, this is really great that you actually went to some of the HMOs, and United Healthcare has thrown away their, fast food and stuff. But we still have a problem at the policy level. We know that the 2/3 of our national healthcare GDP is spent on treatment of diseases and 1/3 on prevention. So we don't have the right incentives, put together. I would be very surprised if United Healthcare today starts to reimburse better for prevention or food and nutrition counseling. So that's one part of it. The second part is that even our communities, our own people, our residents have actually moved away from the power of food because they have been made to believe in the power of medicine. So this is a novel idea. Going back to your own roots is novel. And people don't cook anymore. You see your patients, and very few people like to cook. They don't enjoy cooking. They don't have the resources to cook. So it's easy to get fast food. And think about a center that Dexter created, center that I created at University of New Mexico. If we had community gardens, if we had farmers market coming there, and we involve our patients, our community, to plant seeds, grow food, and then cook from that food, there is some meaning to it. It's about that mindfulness that comes when you hold the food in your hands and think about where it came from, how it came from, what nourishment it's going to bring to you. We are taking people back to their roots and say, the hunters gatherers, gather your food, cook your food, enjoy your food with your family. So I think we have a cultural problem in that regard, and then we have a policy level problem. And then, well, that really takes us to the food politics, actually. And some of the questions are coming, and for the sake of time, I might recommend that we may want to look at those questions because some of our, structured theme may be able to apply to that.
Yeah, absolutely. So, and we can do that. I know we're at 6:22 Central Time. Let me just look at my other subject matters here real quick. And I do want to mention, as we talk about big companies doing the right thing, and it's hard to do the right thing when Wall Street is the driving factor. Cargill, being a privately held company, is a great example of one who's making a significant difference. Buffett McMillan, as mentioned, leading so much of that charge spiritually and factually. And they invented Epicor, which is, a fantastic product. I'm sorry. So there's so much to learn, and I think we need to do a day seminar, the four of us. Certainly, we can look at some questions here. Artie, is there anything in particular that you would like to address? Why don't we all take a stab at one, and then come back to programming, and then we'll come back to questions as we have time. And I know you in particular have to go, so please do start.
Oh no, I'm actually okay. You know, I would like all of us to. No, I'm okay in the sense that yes, I do have to leave early, but I think we are almost close to the time, so it's okay. I would like all of us to think about this question, which has come from Rick Botelho. Happy to connect via LinkedIn. Food insecurities is the tip of the iceberg of inequities. How can we design an inclusive, equitable, and sustainable future to hack the isms and inequities? And he has provided a LinkedIn link there.
Yeah, and I think this is a very big topic, and it's been covered on a few different sessions throughout the day today.
Oh, okay.
Our focus is really for this session is on functional food, integrative medicine, and how they impact the world. So, you know, back to my point, as if we're eating the right food, and in fact, I'm going to throw out this question. So I'm changing the game. Sorry, gang. But let's talk about quality food versus junk food. Let's talk about spending $1. And so in an individual's health, and this sort of answers the inequity question, I hope, Rick, but you know, we spend $1 on good food versus $1 on not so good food. What's the impact? And so let's tackle that question.
Yeah, well, $1 on bad food also, that's the beginning of spending $3 on the healthcare to fix the problems that the $1 got you into. So it's not, the dollars are not equal. Yeah, and I think people really don't appreciate that.
Yes, I agree. Mike, want to chime in on that?
Well, if you don't mind, because you did say this is about functional food, can I just make, and this is not going to be an advertisement for a company, but I'm just going to use an example of a company that does, they're based here. It's called Urban Remedy, and they, I believe it's General Mills made an investment in them. So they are a plant-based company, and when you go into their stores, you can say, well, I mean, I'm familiar with their products, but if you went in there, you could talk to the people that work in the stores. They also do a store within a store at Whole Foods where you can buy them too. You can go in and say, you know, my immunity level feels low, and they can point you to different products. So it's almost like your specialized sections at Whole Foods, like, or how that used to be. So you go into the store and you can just buy stuff, or you can ask them like, oh, you know, I'm trying to fight off a cold. They'll put you here, and food, that is their tagline is like, food is healing. So sort of the same thing. It's not inexpensive. So you know, it kind of goes back to my point of access for those types of foods, and it's not cheap to make those foods either. So I'm trying to think about the tie-in to what to your question about one for one. But I did want to bring that up as an example of functional foods and food for your cat. But anyway, I wanted to lob that in as a really good example, as food is medicine. And I don't know how that ties in with what you just talked about, the one for one.
No, I think they're an exceptional example. And John Hagen who's chairman of 301, which is the General Mills incubator, did invest. I've got to think it was 17 million, and I think they're really happy with that. And you know, again, it's an example of a company like General Mills who's being told by Wall Street, you know, their CEO is told by Wall Street, metaphorically, you know, make me money or you're gone. And that's the reality. And there's 100 guys behind him and gals waiting for that job.
And it's not bad that they invest. I mean, some people think, you know, oh, they're selling out, but maybe General Mills can help them become, you know, through, you know,
or if General Mills
scale, you know, get them to be able to economies of scale to get them a little bit more.
Yeah, if if you didn't exist to help companies like that get to General Mills, then General Mills would, continue to make the same food they always did. So all of this is very good. These companies aren't selling out; they're expanding their reach. I mean, that kind of money and with Lara and the rest of them allows them to be in the stomachs and hands of the cat. Okay, keep going. Yeah, sorry. Artie, anyone else want to take on this? And we can certainly try some other questions again.
Adam, can I ask this question to our panelists that may be beneficial for everyone? Is how do we make the healthy food less expensive? Because the food, the bad food, is less expensive. So that's what people are buying who can afford, who only have certain dollars. That's what they are going for. That's why we have the sugary drinks, the high fat food, the simple carb food. And it's gratifying too. So how do we create a slow food movement instead of fast food? And how do we make healthy and functional food less expensive? What would it take at the policy level, at the federal level to make that happen?
Well, I think one thing I'll throw out there is we start funding purple yams instead of white potatoes. I mean, it's a shift. A purple yam crop is just as profitable for a farmer as white potato is, but it's demand. We, the people, I mean, most people don't even know what a purple yam is. I got to tell you, they taste fantastic. They're my favorite food. I could be buried with them. But it's supply and demand and the appropriate economic impact of the demand piece. So, we get McDonald's to start serving purple yams and people start liking it. We get them to air fry instead of deep fry, still using the same oils they're using, but less of it. And we can have, multiple hundreds of millions of dollars of impact upon the economy just from that one little deal. So there's no easy answers here. Somebody's got to be a champion, and somebody's got to be a champion who is governed by Wall Street, because the Cargill family can't do it all. And Nestle picked up and got rid of all of the junk. So now there's sugar is sugar. That's better. It's way better. That's my answer.
Well, I think part of the reason that the junk food is more affordable is that it's subsidized. And, there's policy that subsidizes a lot of these products. And the question is, why couldn't we subsidize some of the healthier things?
Exactly.
But those are big shifts. Because a lot of these policies have been in there for a long time. And to Adam's point, we also need to educate our palates, society's palates. I would support programs in school. Well, we used to have home ec and some of those things where we teach people how to cook. But even going beyond that, what if we had a class that was required where children had to eat certain kinds of foods just to educate their palate?
Mm-hmm.
That's a great idea.
Think about that. A culinary class where children would get a variety of whole foods and plants and things, and they would now know what an eggplant tastes, or purple, yam, and that they love it. They say, man, I had this purple yam in class yesterday, Mom, and it was fantastic. Can we get some of that? I think that's also where we need to go and start this.
No,
Not to get political here, but I think with our current administration, trying to get those funding for those types of things are just in the communities that need them most. And that's because they wouldn't view that as a necessity, and so. So I think most of education, I don't think they view it as a necessity, let alone that. So I don't know, I don't know if there's ways to do that fund that at the local level or local involvement. But I think we sort of have to assume that probably has to happen at the local level. Because I think even if things change at the federal level for this next election, it's
Yeah.
Democrat one time, Republican. So it's just, how do we consistently provide that, have funding for that,
One of our topics for discussion today is what does government need to do, and the other one is, who are the good guys in the fight, and to this point, it really is a trick. I've got a colleague who is diabetic with 14 comorbidities, and he had never had a beet, and God forbid a beet chip. Well, beet chips are delicious, and I got him to switch from his greasy chips to beet chips, and it's incremental, tiny steps.
Right.
His palate has now been exposed to the idea that maybe he doesn't know everything. But I go back and I agree with you so heartily. This needs to happen at grade 4, and the exploration of food should be, of course. Do we need home ec where we learn how to iron? I burn my shirts, so there's no way. It's but do we need to learn how to eat, cook, and actually enjoy ourselves and be mindful?
Exactly. Yeah.
Question there. So yeah,
I love the purple yam movement across America. That sounds awesome.
Yeah, Artie. So let's talk more about the good guys and the government. I think this is, it's not a political conversation, but who needs to do what, regardless of what the party is. And Mike, thanks for starting that. Dexter, Artie, do you want to add in?
Well, I will tell you that the American College of Lifestyle Medicine, we partnered with Alston and Bird, which is a lobbying group out of Washington, D.C. And we have been in conversations now with the Senate Finance Committee, the Congressional Black Caucus. We have NQF, CMS. So we've been having some really serious conversations on some of these policy issues, and there is an interest. Now, whether or not, at the end of the day, it's going to happen, we don't know, but we've been received quite well, to our surprise. And so I think we are also reaching out to other organizations, the American Academy of Family Physicians and Endocrinologists, to get on the bandwagon with us to say, maybe one organization, the American College of Lifestyle Medicine, we're only 5,000, physicians, but, maybe if enough of us were to start having this conversation with those folks, we might actually start to move the needle. So that's a little bit of what we've been doing, because we see this as, this is the long game. We gotta make this change. We can do some things with our individual patients, but the long game is we have to change some of these policies. Absolutely.
Yeah, and speaking of poverty, right? Because we're talking about food for everyone. The SNAP program. So the idea that we should incentivize food, good food, and just not pay for the junk. The government should not be paying for the junk, and that is the end of the story. And we kind of need a whole new system of administration. It really can't be a political system, because it's always going to be messed with by whoever happens to be in control at the time. So other thoughts around SNAP, around, again, who the good guys are. Then I'm going to ask everyone to do a little quick summary, final comments, and then I think we're probably done, as much as I'd love to get to these questions.
I just want to add one thing. And I'm going to just weave off just for a moment. As of top of mind, I don't have anything to say about SNAP right yet, but one thought I had that I wanted just to plug in. I was up in Portland a couple of years ago for a conference, and I think it was like my Uber driver who was like, I don't know how old he was, 20, maybe he was a college student, or maybe that's all he did was Uber driving. He did not come across as someone of a lot of means, but was talking about food like he was, you know, like an Alice Waters, or like someone that, you know, lived in, you know, that was a high tech worker or something and wasn't. And just, and I think that's, you know, Portland's unique in that way, but they, um, I felt like, and I met others there too, where it was like they were like either college students, or maybe they didn't even go to college, but it was like, oh, I went there and they had this amazing, you know, Thai chicken tofu wrap that, you know, they were using. They didn't use cilantro, but they used, and so it was this association with food that they have. They didn't have a lot of money, but they just, the appreciation of it. And they, I don't know if they were talking so much about the sense of it was nutritious, but it was all fresh. So I would love to see that. And so what that said to me was, you know, you don't need to be a, you know, 6-figure tech salary worker to embrace it. And so I think that conversation, and you know, I hope that gets expanded, you know, outward, you know, that the perception of food and enjoyment of it and freshness of it. It was just really, it was fascinating. I thought, this guy, he works, and how is he going and eating these things? But he's finding it, and they're able to find it, and it's just, it was refreshing to see.
I do really suggest that everyone check out Healthy Kitchens, because they are tackling this. And I think I had his cousin as one of my Uber drivers, Mike, because my funnest thing is talking about this to drivers. And there's a lot of mindful young people. And,
That's right.
and there's, I mean, the millennials, God help us,
Really.
are really mindful about this stuff. And that's what it's going to take. So, well, we're at 6:40, so we're 10 minutes over, and I'd love to continue for another 5 hours, but hopefully you'll all write and ask us back. But why don't we just go around and make a closing statement as it relates to functional food, integrative medicine, population health, and you know, this is it. So
you're asking for our elevator's pitch?
Yeah, this is your elevator pitch. Feel free, you know, all of you represent phenomenal organizations that the world needs to pay attention to. And so feel free to shamelessly plug those phenomenal organizations that help everyone. Artie, why don't you?
I'll try first. So first one is not a pitch. First one is a thank you to you, Adam, for inviting us to be part of this discussion, and you know, meeting these wonderful people. Mike, I didn't tell you that I had always heard about East and West Coast, this expo, the National Expo. I had never attended. I know some of the speakers who have spoken there, so it's wonderful to know that you are the man and your company behind it. Pleasure to meet you. We should stay in touch. And Dexter, we are just about to hire someone who is board certified in lifestyle medicine. So thank you for all the work that you have done. So pleasure to meet you, Adam. Thank you. And my closing comment is that it's a movement. It is sad. It's sadly, food has to be a movement. Food is so basic to us, to humans, to animals, to earth, nature, and we have to create a movement for it to be part of our lives again. That is sad, but it has to happen at every single level. It has to start from medical education. Even before that, like we talked about schools, medical education, healthcare system, health insurance companies, local governments, federal government, and how to tie this all together. I believe the change is going to happen if CMS starts to pay for food and food-related medicine. Then everyone is going to follow. So I'm wondering if any right now, if anyone in the audience or all day today, if we had any HMOs, any health insurance companies, would they be willing to fund a chronic disease management study which is only related to food, and it's a large scale trial across many sites across regions. I think we will show the outcomes that CMS will have to adopt if we showed that outcome, and that those studies are not existing. We have some small studies, and you can't really study plans. You really can't study because the patenting thing. So anyway, I don't know what I'm trying to say. I think I'm trying to say that it's a movement, and sadly it's a movement. And we need to engage with people. We need to engage with their communities. We need to engage with our lobbyists. We need to engage with our patients, because I think they are the change agents. They're the change agents. Thank you.
Thank you, Artie. Mike?
Yeah, where I'm, I interact with a lot of brands, and I think, a lot of it's packaged foods, and they're good packaged foods, but I think what I've thought about and thinking about the quickest way and most price sensitive way to make impacts is to increase accessibility to farmers markets with schools, lower income schools, lower income communities. I was trying to think of this this urban farmer in LA, and I forgot his name, but I think he's doing a lot of things in South Central schools and things like that, with like gardens at schools. I'm blanking on the name, but I think more things like that, and I think those can have immediate impacts, and I think just getting kids involved in gardens and things like that can really make a huge impact. And I go to the farmers market every week, I think, and kids love going, and I think just getting them there, I know that many, I know at least here, there's some of the farmers markets, they'll have, where you can use, I don't know if it's part of the SNAP program or something, but you can, yeah. So I think there's a lot there. So I think we can do more. I think that's a way to move the needle fairly quickly, to continue that work. And you are on mute, Adam. You're still on mute. And I think Dexter's time to talk.
Okay, I'll talk. Thank you again, Adam, Artie, Mike. It's great being part of this, and it's nice to be surrounded by such friendly kindred spirits. And so it is a movement, Artie, and we're making some progress. I believe it's slower than we would like it to be, but we are making progress. I think that in one of the comments someone made on the chat, I think it was Kevin Steele, said that we have a sickness system or a disease management system and not a healthcare system. And I like that comment. And think about this, there are 46 drugs to treat type 2 diabetes. None of them cure type 2 diabetes. The only cures that we have for type 2 diabetes are bariatric surgery and lifestyle or diet and exercise. And so if you think about that, and all this talk about type 2 diabetes and where we spend all this money, we really need to throw a little more money in this direction so that we can actually have better results. The other thing I just want to say is that it is a movement, and the movement is for everyone. It's not just for some of us. And I get sometimes the comment that this is just a white person thing. It's not for minorities. And we need to do something about that as well. There's a guy out of Seattle by the name of Tucker that's doing something called Hip Hop is Green. And so he's actually going into the inner cities. He's making this kind of good food to be the hip thing to do. And we're getting young people who are getting involved and getting excited about this, Michael, as you mentioned in Portland, right? So we need to think about ways to get this into the neighborhoods, get this to everybody, because it is a movement for everyone. And the last thing I'll leave is another idea, such as we know that we have pop-up clinics. What about if we have pop-up markets? Because a lot of these inner cities do not have grocery stores. They only have party stores. And so we need to really start thinking about how to get this to the people. But it is for everyone. It is a movement. We're starting to make progress, and we'll get there.
Thank you, Dexter.
Thumbs up.
you know, to accentuate a couple of points here, really the movement piece. This is apolitical. This is humanity. This is for everyone. Doesn't matter what party we're talking. The issue is purple, and like purple yams. You see, I think we've got something.
There you go.
Purple party led by purple yam eaters. Anyway, and it's not at conflict with prepared foods. So, you know, it's not in conflict with General Mills and with 301 and with the companies who are willing to try to make foods better. It is a conflict with the guys making junk food and you know, one of the people in the chat room said that maybe sugar should be the next tobacco.
Mm-hmm.
We'll get Mike Cerisi on that one.
Mm-hmm.
Tackled big tobacco. But you know, it's not sugar, it's the amount of sugar. It's not pop, the amount of pop. And again, David Eisenberg taught me that the ideal dessert is 1 cubic inch of decadent tiramisu with a whole bunch of berries. And and Artie,
True.
over. Mike, but you're going to need a line ticket. So I want to close by saying thank you so much. It has been such an honor to be on this panel with you guys, you know what I mean. And such a privilege, and I'm such a fan of all of you. So thank you so much. And a final thanks again to Global Minnesota, Muffy McMillan, and the United Nations, and of course everyone who has joined to watch. And thank you so much, and have a great weekend.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Namaste.
Have a good weekend.
Okay. Bye-bye. Nice to see you, Mike. Bye.
Yep. Bye-bye.
Bye.